You are all here to learn about our CHIPS pilot program that we've been working on. This is our second year of the program, and we're really excited to have you and tell you more about the opportunity. We also have some fellows here who are in the program for our cohort 25 who can talk about their experience. So really want to thank them, and you'll hear from them in just a little bit. But first, quick introduction of myself. I am Rick Kempinski. I am Activate's Director for Fellowship Recruitment. With me on this call is Ava Nadell, our Fellowship Recruitment Intern, who's going to help answer questions throughout the presentation. If you do have a question, just some housekeeping, we're going to have a Q&A later, so you can certainly wait to ask your question then. But you can either put it in the chat or wait then. If you put it in the chat, you'll probably get a more immediate response from either Ava or myself. Great. So we are going to be together for about an hour. We're going to start by starting with our story and the purpose of why and how Activate was created. We'll then go into more detail about the fellowship experience, and we'll discuss our impact and results so far as well, and then go over our application timeline. And then again, like I said, we're going to open it up to Q&A directly from you all. So really excited to spend the time with you. Great. So let's get started. Activate is, yep, perfect. We empower scientists to reinvent the world by bringing their research to market. We saw a gap in support for early stage entrepreneurial scientists and built this fellowship to meet that need. We created this pathway for scientists whose research was too applied for basic science, but too early for industry, and they were often at an impasse and really left with no career path that was really satisfying to them. So our fellowship is that intentional path that enables scientists and engineers to transform their idea into an actual product that addresses real and profound societal needs. We were born, as this slide shows, out of the Berkeley National Lab back in 2015. Just to try it out, we started a cohort in the Berkeley community, and we're very successful, really excited to see that worked. And then our stage 2 was showing that we could do it in other places. So we opened up the Boston community on the other side of the country and had a few cohorts then in 2019. And then continued to expand our cohort base by opening up New York City, and then our Anywhere community. Obviously, during the pandemic, it was really helpful for people to stay in their location, and they really appreciated that opportunity. And so that community, even though it's a little bit dispersed and a little bit more remote, is still successful in building that community and cohort, which makes our program really special. And then finally, we opened up Houston in 2023, and we've got 2 cohorts there. So I love this photo for so many reasons, but I'll get into it in a minute. But our program is the premier program for scientists on a mission. We exist to really support our fellows, full stop. Our job is to support you in your transformation as a scientist into an entrepreneur, so that you can then ensure that your innovation makes an impact on the world. So I love it. Again, this is a picture from our most recent retreat in June. Every year, we gather our fellows and our staff together to meet all together for the first time in June once we kick off the fellowship. In this one was a retreat in June in Santa Cruz, California, where we welcomed our newest cohort. We welcomed 47 new fellows who are creating 39 companies across 29 cities in 9 states. And just seeing them all together just really shows about how important community is, and hopefully the fellows will discuss that as well. We often hear that from our fellows, that the community building is one of the most valuable aspects of the fellowship program. And shows that you aren't lonely. I think entrepreneurship has traditionally been very lonely to do on your own, and so that really shows how important it is to have a whole support team behind you as well. So again, Activate Fellowship. Oops, sorry, if you can go back. Yeah. We exist to support our fellows, I've mentioned a few times, but who are making things, who are making actual products. We want to be able to work in that hard tech, deep tech space to be able to create products that are going to be out there to serve a purpose, and to really align with our science for good, our hard tech for good, which is our new logo, mission statement. And so we're really excited to really hope that you think about applying and really are ready to apply to the Activate program. So a little bit of history about the CHIPS program itself. If you go to the next slide, perfect. Our program, we announced our partnership with the CHIPS R&D office back in October 2024. And this was really a pilot program to fund early stage 10 early stage companies focusing on innovations in semiconductor manufacturing technologies. So we were brought together with them, really excited, and want to thank the R&D office for our partnership then. So throughout last year, we were able to recruit and select 6 out of the 10 slots for 2025. And so obviously this year we're looking to fill the remaining 4 slots, and hopefully you all are interested in doing that and helping us fill those slots. So let me go a little bit into the details of the program. In case you're not familiar with Activate, our model is to really embed you in one of our communities that I mentioned earlier, either in the in-residence communities that I mentioned, Berkeley, Boston, New York City, Houston, and also our Anywhere community, which is more of a virtual experience, and they get to meet in person on a quarterly basis. But you'll be doing programming, they'll be doing connections, making sure that you're connected to people in the investor community, the government space, so that you are continuing to think about fundraising, develop your technology, and move it forward. We obviously give you money to iterate on. We give you funding as an individual for a living stipend that you'll get, and we'll go into more details on this on the next slide. You get, and then you also get $100,000 of research and development funds just specifically to help you develop your technology. We then also, as we mentioned, develop your skills as an individual. So as a leader and a CEO, we help give you that business acumen to hire folks, to lead teams, all the good stuff that you're going to need to be successful as an individual. And then the last part is we lead you to the path to market. So we're always thinking about who you could be connected to help you finish up your MVP or your prototype, and then scale up post the fellowship after the 2 years. So finally, just more detail, granular detail here is you get $100,000 per year for a living stipend, plus travel allowance, health insurance, reimbursement, and relocation if you do get selected for a community that you do not currently live in. And then you get that $100,000 in research and development funds as well. That's for the 2 years total. So the total amount that you get is $300,000. You get, again, connected to the community. We have the Activate teams in our own communities. You have a managing director who's been on an entrepreneurial journey themselves and really understand and know how to guide you through this, through hitting your milestones, setting your goals, connecting you to the right people, and overall mentorship, which is really helpful. And then you have the network of scientists and engineers in your ecosystem that you're in, that we connect you to. And then obviously the vibrant current fellows, as well as all the alumni that we've had since 2015, who are there to help you and connect you with people and resources that you're going to need. Again, we mentioned the educational component. We have a whole program called Elements of Entrepreneurship for the first 16 weeks, where you're going to be learning all about those terms that you're going to need to be a successful entrepreneur. And then we then have programming that's more tailored and customized to where you are at in your stage of your company. That'll help you go even more advanced into the educational component. And then finally, we have connections to labs and lab resources that you're going to need. That'll help you really make sure that you're owning your own IP and that you are developing your technology in the best way possible with the best tools possible. Great. And then a little bit more about the fellowship, what it looks like day to day. On a weekly basis, you're attending a lot of these professional development events that we're talking about around educational components. You're connecting with your community on a social level as well. And then on a monthly basis, you're doing one-on-one mentorship check-ins with your managing director, making sure that you're on track to hit your goals, to hit your milestones, and what other advice that you need. On a quarterly basis, you're conducting advisory board meetings so that you're getting advice from other folks externally as well. And then on an annual basis, you're reflecting on the first year, seeing how you're doing, and then setting new goals for the next year. And then obviously meeting the new crop of fellows who are coming in, and then you are attending reunions and being connected to doing demo days and things like that, where you can demonstrate your technology to room full of investors, and other events as well. And hopefully our fellows will talk a little bit more about their experience on their day-to-day once we get to them as well. Great. So these are the folks you'd be working with. These are our managing directors. They are really the foundation of our support to the fellows. Again, they've all been science entrepreneurs themselves, so really understand your journey and give you that advice that really is going to be beneficial to you to get through your process, to help you build as a leader and develop as an individual. In addition, you have a local fellowship team that's supporting the managing directors on the programming, on the connections, and all the logistics you're going to need, any space that you need, any bonding you're going to need to do. They're in charge of all of that. And then we have our ecosystem and investment teams who are doing all the connecting on the external side. So all the investors, the government side, they know who to talk to, who are going to be really thinking about the technology and how you're going to scale up in the future so that you'll be ready once you graduate. Wonderful. So just showing again that we're across the country, that we are really proud of our 5 communities, and hopefully you choose the one that's best for you. In terms of the chips stuff, you could be placed in any of these communities. We are not, you don't have to go work in anywhere, or Berkeley or Boston. You should be open to, when you put it in the application, you'll rank where you want to go. And so just be thinking about your community that would work best for you. So great. So here we are. Hold on one second here. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Give me one second. Cool. So I'm just going to share some information about Chips for America more generally, and also some of the details about the Entrepreneurial Fellowship Pilot Program. So this is just a brief disclaimer before we get started. Just please take a moment to read it over on your own. But basically, we just want to make sure that things are always changing. What we say here might change, but definitely just take a second to read this over on your own. Great. I think we can move on. Wonderful. So the program really aims to accelerate the development and commercial deployment of foundational semiconductor technologies by establishing, connecting, and providing access to domestic research efforts, tools, resources, workers, and facilities. The CHIPS team is here to help us with this pilot program to develop and de-risk technology, identify commercial strategies and domestic manufacturing scale-up opportunities, and help you create a minimum viable product with a pathway towards financial sustainability. And then obviously the program is there to further support the goals of the CHIPS R&D goals and objectives, which are on the next slide. Great. So the CHIPS R&D office has developed a more focused interest to these goals and objectives, and it is to grow U.S. leadership in semiconductor technology and accelerate the pace of commercialization to enable technology dominance in the industries of the future and in areas including advanced microelectronics research and development with a nexus to artificial intelligence, quantum technology, biotechnology and biomanufacturing, commercialization of innovation, and standards development. One thing I'm going to note is that general applications of technologies are not directly related. General applications of technology is not directly related to advanced microelectronics. Research and development are not within scope of this program. And we'll get into a little bit more about what technologies are in scope later on. So great. If you do have any questions specifically about Chips for America, you can contact them at askchips@chips.gov. But for the sake of this presentation, we'll go a little bit deeper into into the technologies that we're looking for a little bit later in the presentation. Great. So I've been talking for a while, but I think who you really want to hear from are the folks who are in the program, who are really going to talk about their experience. We have, like I said, we have our 6 fellows that we've selected. Only 2 of them are here to talk to you today. But these are the six. You can always learn more about our companies, those companies, on our website at activate.org/companies, and search by these companies. We will be sending out these slides later, so you should be able to do your own research on the rest of the companies that aren't here. But really proud and excited to have Larissa Little as our first speaker here, as well as, Eva, if you want to change the slide, as well as Josh Yang. So we have someone from our Boston community, as well as someone from our Houston community. So really excited to get those two perspectives. So I guess what I'd really want them to start on is talking about just introducing themselves. We'll just have you introduce yourselves, Larissa and Josh, and talk about your company, your technology, and then why you chose Activate and how you got here through that process. And then we can go from there. So why don't we start with Larissa?
Great. Hi, I'm Larissa. So I'm CEO of Epitactic, and we're working on commercializing a new material for integrated photonic circuits. So I kind of found Epitactic out of my PhD and postdoc work. My background is in material science, and I focused on kind of novel ways to synthesize thin films. And through collaboration in my PhD and postdoc with folks working in integrated photonics, I found that this had really high commercial potential and was just really excited to try to bring this new material, be able to scale it up, being able to commercialize it and bring it to market. So I think for about a year, 6 months to 8 months, something like that, before starting to apply to that Activate Fellowship, I had started doing some, customer discovery, some techno-economic modeling, and like mapping out the market, looking at the supply chain, seeing what a company would look like with this type of technology. And so I used a lot of that information during the fellowship application process. And we got kind of like announced, the fellowship was announced in May. And so we started programming in June. And I actually left my postdoc just in August. So there's like some amount of flexibility if you're coming from another position. I think that varies a lot. Some of the other fellows, CHIPS fellows that I know, they had already been, by the time they were accepted to Activate, they had already been working on their company full time. Um, but I was kind of negotiating leaving my postdoc and starting full time as founder of the company. So I think that's a brief introduction.
Great, thanks, Larissa. Josh, do you want to introduce yourself and talk about your journey as well?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. Also, sorry that I'm not on camera. I recently caught a bit of a cold, so a little bit under the weather, but it's great to see you all here. My name is Josh. I'm CEO and co-founder of Bright Light Photonics. What we're doing, the short of it, is we're developing high-performance lasers on tiny chips. This research sort of initially spun out of my PhD, and like Larissa was actually mentioning, I started full-time before I even applied to Activate, a little bit about a year before I started and joined the Activate Fellowship. I had heard about it actually from a variety of people, from some people in my previous lab at UT Austin, where I did my undergrad, some people at Stanford, where I did my PhD, and just kind of general heard great things about it. And yeah, it's been great to be part of this community so far.
Great, thanks both. Can you maybe also share a little bit about, how, like so far, how has the program supported you in the development of your technology and building your company? Maybe talk a little bit about which components of the program you're finding most valuable for you. Why don't we start with Larissa again?
Yeah. For me, I think what has been incredibly helpful, I think, as Rick mentioned, I think moving from an academic environment to entrepreneurship, it's a really big jump. I mean, I think your goals are different, your day-to-day looks really different, and there's a lot more to juggle and prioritize. So I think that being part of the fellowship, I think there have been two things that have been really helpful. First is just being surrounded by other people at various stages of entrepreneurship. So I'm in a pretty early stage for an Activate Fellow. I think I'm on the earlier side. And so meeting so many folks who are a year or 2 years ahead of where I am, what that looks like, what types of funding routes they've been able to take, what their experience has been like, that's been incredibly helpful because it kind of helps me see where the company might be going and what developing this type of hard tech semiconductor microelectronics technology might look like. And I think the second thing is this educational programming and one-on-one mentorship. That's been incredibly helpful because the first 16 weeks, as Rick has said, there's kind of every week a couple hours of a crash course on a bunch of different areas of starting a company, like looking at what your advisor situation is like, looking at non-traditional funding routes, and especially I think in the microelectronics industry, it's a big industry with a lot of inertia and it's very complex. Like the supply chain is very complex. So I think when I was looking before joining Activate, there weren't a lot of resources I found on like what do corporate partnerships look like? How long do those take to develop? What is it like when you're a startup working with an established company? What are different non-traditional options for funding aside from VC money, which I think can be a challenge if you're working in hard tech with long development cycles. So there's just been a lot of information and then I think some amount of structure to help me as a fellow think very critically about like how should I spend my very limited time and money? Like what are the most critical things to be doing for the company right now? That's what I would say. I think that's been incredibly helpful.
Wow, thank you so much, Larissa. Yeah, Josh, over to you.
Yeah, I think honestly Larissa covered basically like most aspects of it. Something that I'll kind of chime in on is since I had started Bright Light Photonics about a year before I joined Activate, I was able to kind of get a little bit of experience before and also after Activate as sort of a deep tech scientist in entrepreneurship. One thing that many people will tell you is really the community in Activate is one of the greatest things about it, both in your cohort, both the staff, just really all around you have that kind of network of support and mentorship, which is really important. For me, I have two other co-founders who obviously I can sort of bounce ideas off of and go at this together. But even then, a lot of times you feel somewhat alone, so to speak, and sometimes if none of y'all have any idea of what's going on, it's sometimes hard to figure out how to kind of swim through that field of entrepreneurship at first. So definitely, especially if you're like a solo founder or just kind of new to this, I think the support from Activate is incredibly valuable for that.
Great. I guess I just have a couple of more questions and then I'm going to finish the presentation and then let Q&A open up so that you all, if there are questions for Larissa and Josh, you all can ask at that point. But can you both talk about, since you're in different communities, why you chose your communities or how you decided to choose your communities?
Yeah, I'll start. I think for me, it was pretty straightforward. I came to Boston for college. I stayed here for some work in industry. I stayed here for graduate school and for my postdoc. So I'm pretty attached to Boston. I've been here for like 15 years. And I think Boston is also a pretty good hub for like hard tech startups. I think there's a lot of resources here. There are a lot of companies here. There's a lot of university, I think Harvard and MIT both have clean rooms. There's BU, BC, North, like there's a lot of different great colleges and universities here. There are a lot of resources from that. And I think there's a lot of hard tech startup work here. And it's a great city. So I love Boston.
Yeah, the clam chowder is pretty good, Josh, but there's barbecue in Houston. So Josh, this is your chance.
Yeah, I mean, so for me also, it was pretty straightforward. So I'm not actually in Houston. I'm in Austin, Texas. But for the Houston community, we actually have some folks both in Austin and in Houston. So I mean, Austin, Houston, generally Texas. It's home to me. It's been home to me for a long time. And especially kind of vertical wise for the energy sector. I mean, Houston's the energy capital of the world. So definitely for a lot of those kind of network opportunities and also partnerships, it's definitely a great area there.
Great. And then my final question is, what advice do you have for the audience here about applying to Activate?
Yeah, I think that in the application, I don't do all of the selections, so feel free to jump in. But I think that the fellowship is really focused on looking at tech that's going to be very impactful and supporting fellows that are, dedicated to growing as entrepreneurs and to making a difference in the world. So I think that being really clear about what your tech is, why it's viable, and like, where it is in development. I think, if you already have an MVP, you're already selling stuff, like Activate you might be more like too far for Activate to help you very much. And if there's still a lot of basic research to do, then I think that Activate, you might need to do another year of development before Activate is the right fit for you. So I think just explaining where your tech is at, showing why it's going to be impactful to the world in a really clear way, and then presenting yourself as an entrepreneur and like, why are you passionate about this? It's going to be, many years of your life dedicated to building this company. So why do you want to do that? I think that there's a big range of fellows, like just between me and Josh, you see that, like where we were in our company and our journey. So I think that there's a big range of what a successful fellow looks like. And it's really about just communicating yourself authentically and communicating your technology really clearly.
Yeah, and then just kind of adding on to that as well, something that at least when I was applying to Activate that I had heard from previous fellows is that Activate is not funding the company, but they're funding the fellows themselves. So really take that into account as you're going through this application process. You should honestly maybe even similar to how people kind of think when they are writing personal statements for like grad school. There should be a bit of introspection, like why are you on this journey? What has led you to this path, and where do you see this going?
Well, thank you so much, Larissa and Josh. I feel like you're doing me and Ava's job pretty well. So you're hired at Activate once you're done with your fellowship. But no, thank you for your words, and it's always great to hear directly from fellows about their experience and why you should, everyone in the audience should also become an Activate and CHIPS fellow. So thank you. We're gonna, if you all can stay, that's great. If there's any questions that come up during the Q&A, please, direct them to Josh or Larissa. They're happy to answer any questions. Let's finish up the presentation and then we'll open it up to Q&A. Just want to go over some basic requirements and application timelines as our next section here. Perfect. Great. So our application is open now, so you can go ahead and go to activate.org/apply, start an application. I actually encourage you to start an application. You could always go back and save it more to see what questions we ask, what the personal questions are. Do it in your own time and go back, but please make sure that you finish it by October 28th. That is our final deadline. If you've applied in the past, we have done extensions, but this year we are not doing that. So October 28th is the final deadline to get your application in, and it will close at 8 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Pacific time. After the application closes, we have a very extensive selection process. We're having our subject matter experts and selection committees review the applications again to make sure that they're viable, that they hit our eligibility requirements. And then if you are a semi-finalist, you'll be invited to a video interview with the selection committee in January, February timeframe. After that, if you are selected as a finalist, we have what we call Finalist Week. And maybe Josh and Larissa could talk about this later too, if questions come up about it. But it's basically like you do a pitch about your company to a room full of virtual room full of subject matter experts who help our selection committees make the final decisions on who to offer the fellowship to. And you'll be notified in April about that, and then you'll start your fellowship in June. Again, just to kick it off and do our retreat around that time as well. Great. So what are we looking for? I think this comes up a lot. We really want people, again, who are committed, driven scientists and engineers who are really knowledgeable about your field. You should have that technical knowledge to be able to move your technology forward. You have to be motivated. I think Larissa and Josh really alluded to this, motivated to grow as an entrepreneur, really want to go that career pathway. You're excited to participate in the whole components of the fellowship program, which are the educational and community components, and then obviously have the ability to lead the development of your technology. That's going to be a feasible technology that has a potential for impact. That's really important to show the data in your application about what that impact could be. And that is aligned with Activate's mission of science for good. And again, would receiving the fellowship support make a difference? Like Larissa said earlier too, if you've already raised a lot, you already have the connections, you're already kind of ready to scale up, you're probably too far along that you wouldn't really benefit from all the stuff that Activate offers. And so really think about whether or not Activate is the right program for you at the stage that you're at right now. Finally, our basic eligibility requirements. These are just basic things that you need to do you need to have in order to apply. You must have a bachelor's degree and 4+ years of post-baccalaureate scientific research, engineering, or technology development experience. So you could have a master's degree and then 2+ years, or you could have a PhD, which would count completely to all of these requirements. But you do not need to have a PhD in order to apply. So we just want to make that very clear. The second bullet's long, but it basically means that you have not done this before. If you've already been successful as an entrepreneur, as a science entrepreneur, you've already had a company and sold it and developed it and exited from it. You already have the educational components that you need, so you wouldn't really benefit. We are really here to help first-time founders develop their leadership skills. You must be committed full time. So this is really important. So you can't do this along with another job or while you're in school. A lot of our folks that we see are in their last year of their PhD program because they know that in June they'll be done with their PhD program, they'll have graduated and are ready to go on to do this full time and develop their technology and build their company. You must be legally able to work in the US. So that means that foreign nationals are eligible to apply as long as you have a pathway to a working visa for the duration of the fellowship program. And you'll just note that in your application. We ask you what your pathways that you're exploring are. And we definitely encourage foreign nationals to talk to an immigration lawyer. Obviously, things are changing pretty often. And so be thinking about what pathway works for your own situation. Then you must be able to communicate proficiently in English. Your project itself must be based in the physical or biological sciences or related engineering disciplines. Obviously, for this program, we'll talk about that, but it's specific technology areas. You must be in development and not ready for full-scale product sales. So really, early stage is our sweet spot. So if you have like a proof of concept, you've maybe done some customer discovery, you've done some market research, but you don't have a full plan yet. That's okay. That's where we are here to help you and help you develop it while you're in the fellowship program. And then finally, you must not have raised more than $2 million in non-governmental sources. So you can apply to SBIRs and STTRs. That is fine. We actually encourage people to do that to get governmental funding. But if you already have it from investors, if you have more than $2 million from investors, again, you're well on your way and you probably wouldn't need us. So these are the technology areas that we're seeking for this pilot program. So we do, we'll set, again, I'm not going to read these all out to you all. You can check this out later, but make sure that you are aligned with these. So, but semiconductor packaging, silicon wafer manufacturing innovations and next generation devices, precision measurement techniques, and manufacturing tools for process automation and in-process testing. So again, these are things you can just make sure that your technology aligns with and would likely be funded through this, could likely be funded through this pilot program. And then we get this question a lot. I think I saw it in the chat as well. There's not a separate application for this program. What you would do is apply at activate.org/apply, just like anyone else who's applying to our program. But we would say that there is, in the pre-fellowship form that you fill out before you start the application, it does ask you whether or not you have your innovation fits into any of those technology areas that I just showed you on the other slide. And so if you hit yes, we would be able to parse that out for us to review as part of this pilot program. And then also there's a section called project details where you'll put your project vertical and your project technical areas, and you can select your vertical and your area to align with this program. So just making a note that there's no separate place to put this, except just make sure that you are answering these questions and putting this information that aligns with this technology area that we're looking for. Okay, so what can you do now? If hopefully, you're doing it already, you're in this presentation, so thank you so much for doing that. But we have additional office hours coming up. If you have additional questions, we're going to have folks answering questions for you as well. I think our semiconductor office hours is mid-October, but I will send that out as follow-up as well to this group. You can also consult our fellowship page and FAQ page for more information. And then obviously do more research, look at the other companies that I mentioned earlier who are working in this space. And then consider, which community you want to think about, your technical vision and pathway. If you want to apply as a solo founder, as a with a co-founder, and then how, again, be thinking about how the fellowship is going to be beneficial to you and your project. I think with that, is that our last one? Great. Just again, here's where to email us if you have questions. At any time, we're happy to answer them at apply@activate.org or askchips@chips.gov. So I've been talking for a while. Oh, I guess we have one more. Just showing you that our fellowship works. We just really want to inspire you to be part of our group, be part of our team, be part of our cohort 2026. Since 2015, we've helped and supported 296 Activate Fellows, create 236 companies who've raised over $4 billion in follow-on funding, created 3,000 new jobs across the United States, and 97% of our companies are still active, which we're really proud of as well. So come be part of our program. Come apply. So I'll stop now and take any questions that you all have. And again, what you can do is raise your hand and I can call on you. Or again, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, make sure that you put your question in the chat and we can answer it. Or Ava, if there's any questions in the chat that are still outstanding or any themes.
I have a question. I don't know how to raise a hand in the
Okay.
Zoom workspace. So you mentioned a few areas which you are specifically looking for the semiconductor technology, specifically AI, quantum computing, and there were a couple of others mentioned. So my question is that in terms of if you have like a fabless, chip design company, does that firstly, does that company qualify, or is it for companies who are actually making the semiconductor technology and manufacturing itself? And second thing is, in terms of applications, you mentioned like the two things I remember is AI and quantum. But if there are other applications, like, for example, space tech or even defense, do they all, or even like commercial telecom market, does that also have the similar weightage as the other areas you have mentioned, or will those be given lower priority?
Yeah, just to be clear, we're just for the, so we have 4 remaining slots available for this pilot program that are going to align with the technologies that we mentioned earlier. You must be creating a product, and so if you're just doing AI like coding or something like that, we typically wouldn't fund that. It has to be something that really is together with some sort of hardware product, right? A hard tech product. That's what we focus on, and so just be thinking about that. And then I guess your second one, so the other thing is that doesn't mean that's all we're looking for as Activate. We have all of our communities are looking for different technologies that are going to have an impact. And if it doesn't fit into align with the pilot program that we're doing with chips, we still have slots available in those different communities across the country that might align with, that might get sponsored and in that we would select you for. So it doesn't mean that you wouldn't have it. I just think, I would apply either way, and it's just one application. And we're in the back end parsing out the folks who'd be good for this particular pilot program.
Okay, but you did mention that, so you mentioned like, I'm talking specifically of like a fabless chip design company. So does that qualify for this fellowship, or is it more of a company who is developing the semiconductor technology itself? Since you mentioned in your slides, I think it was like the second last slide, where you mentioned certain technologies such as GaN on silicon and
Yeah.
I guess it was germanium or something. So is this like GaN on silicon specific to like the actual technology manufacturing only, or is it for companies who also do design work in this space as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not an expert on particularly the technologies myself, but if you email me, I can get you an answer to that question specifically of whether or not you should apply based on what your technology is. So email me at apply@activate.org and I can
Okay.
follow up with you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fenton. Oop, you're on mute. Oop. Yeah. No, you're still on mute. Yeah. There you
Right,
go.
okay. Yeah, okay. You may have just answered my question in the chat box, but I noticed, it sounds a little cheeky, but I noticed that one of your graphics that featured the chip with the American flag on it, you actually also had optical transceivers around the edges. And so I'm curious what your take is on that. Is that also a valid topic? Are you interested in materials that could be used in this?
Yeah, again, if you have a specific technology and you're not sure if it fits into this, I'm happy to get an answer for you. I would just need to have someone else help me with that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Any questions for Josh or Larissa as well while we have them here? I don't know if Josh left.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is Lan. I'm trying to raise up my hand as well, but maybe my hand's not showing. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, sorry. In terms of laboratory access, for people who are trying to work on semiconductors and things like that, when the fellowship actually starts,
Yeah.
my plan is to be in Houston. Hopefully, I'm going to be taken. Does Houston have a lab where you can, get your hands dirty, or do you have to outsource all of that? Because, there's going to be significant experimentation going on with what I'm trying to do.
Yep.
And being a double E, electronic engineering, you need something like that.
Yeah. Josh, do you want to talk about lab access in Houston? Do you your experience with that?
Yeah, I can quickly jump in there. So because like we're not actually based in Houston itself, I can't speak too much to the lab facilities. I know that there is a lot of the Activate Houston cohort has space in Greentown, in Houston. So Greentown Labs, definitely check that out. See if they have the
Okay.
capabilities that meet your needs. But aside from that, I mean, I'm sure there are other sort of lab spaces that you can sort of look around in the area. Just really depends on your specific technology and what kind of equipment and space you need there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will say, in terms of lab space, all of our communities except, well, Berkeley has a very good relationship with the Berkeley National Lab where we spun out of, and a lot of the fellows work out of that lab. But none of the communities have similar, the other communities don't have similar ones like that, but it means that they can help find a lab space for you. You'd work with the managing director. They have relationships with several lab spaces like Greentown Labs, which Josh mentioned, is in Boston as well. And so there are relationships that we hold, but there's no particular one space that you have to work at. But we would help you find that space that you need.
Okay. Great. Good to know. Thanks.
You're welcome. Tianshu.
Hello, this is Tianshu from Houston. I have two general questions. First, because NatCast used to manage all the CHIPS funding here, and they're gone. The roundtable meeting from Austin was also canceled this month here. Does that have any impact for this coming cohort under Activate here? This is my first question. And the second one is for our semiconductor founders, the key thing is to make sure our technology and product is part of the next generation roadmap here to work with design house and also chip manufacture it as soon as possible. I'm wondering, does Activate have any platform or channel, for example, like connection with Amkor technology, like the manufacturer here can help us initiate the early pilot testing? Thanks.
Yeah, I'll answer the second one first, is that I'm not sure.
Mm.
Again, I would have to double check if anyone on staff has that type of relationship. I personally don't, but we can definitely check. The first part of your question is yes, there's not, I don't really have much to share about this because I'm not part of CHIPS, but I do think that there's like we don't expect there to be any issue with this fellowship program at the current. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Jonathan?
Hey there, Jonathan here from Houston. First, just a quick thing for Lan. I have been doing work out of the Rice University Nanotech Clean Room. They have a pretty good setup there. A little bit restrictive in terms of what you can do on the tools because it is a shared facility. And I've also been doing work commuting to Austin for the Microelectronics Research Center there. So both of those are available. It's really straightforward to apply to them as an industry user. You rent time on the instruments. It costs money, but it's possible to do the work there.
Great.
So that's, yeah, just background. My question was this. So I am a bit non-traditional for this, I think. My scientific background was non-existent before I started the company that I'm working on right now. So I saw a requirement for 4 years of, experience doing science, trying to build things. I have that if you count the 1.5 years of personal research that I did nights and weekends before I formally started the company. Do I still qualify or am I out?
Yeah, it's a good question. Why don't you send us a note afterwards and we can make a determination on that separately from this offline. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just follow up with us, yeah, at apply@activate.org, Jonathan, and we'll get you back. We'll respond back to you. Great. Asmita.
Yeah, hi, Asmita again. So I'm in the Bay Area. So I did see that like if you are awarded the fellowship, then you get about a stipend along with R&D funds, right? So for somebody who is living in the Bay Area and if they are able to commute to Berkeley, do you like how does the money work? I mean, is it like if we don't need the stipend for living expenses, then can we count that towards the funding for the research and product development or no?
No, you would get the $100,000 separately, and then the $100,000 for research and development is just for research and development. So you can't use it. Yeah.
Okay. So the $100,000 that is given as a stipend is just for like your living expenses. And then do we have to like show in what way we will utilize that for living expenses, or we can use it for like, even our whatever groceries and house expenses or whatever?
Yeah, that's up to you how you use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Zhonghui, I apologize if I said that incorrectly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is Zhonghui.
Okay.
So I have 2 questions. First question about the CHIP Act versus General Activate Fellowship. So what's the benefit to be part of CHIP Act, or how this changes like the competition landscape? This is my first question.
Yeah, I mean, I think just, this partnership is just something that we are trying to advance these technologies together. There's that you would be treated the same way you would any other, Activate fellow. It's just you'd have the advantage of having the support by the CHIPS R&D office and probably really good connections, as you interact with them in the with like building your network and all of the other things that will help you advance your technology and build your company.
Okay, good. Sounds good. My second question is about the application, like so who should be on the application? So I'm starting a startup. So I'm the CEO, and the CTO is I'm full-time on the startup, and then my partner is full-time professor at the university. So he's CTO. Should I include him like in this application, the Activate Fellowship?
Yeah, typically, so this comes up a lot, so it's a great question. So thanks for asking it. Typically, the professors, because we are, like I said, one of our requirements and eligibility is that you have to be committed full-time to the development of the company. And I'm guessing your professor's not leaving their professorship to do this, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't count them as a co-founder in any way in terms of the application. There is a part in the application that you can list your team members. and you can put your advisor there, just as working on it, with you. So that I would mention them, but I wouldn't add them as a co-founder of the like in the application itself.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah,
Good tip.
as your co-founder, like, because the co-founder should be someone who's going to be working on this full time, are going to be like meeting all those eligibility requirements that were mentioned earlier, and that will be like with you the whole time. It sounds like your professor is just going to be more an advisor role, right?
Yeah, so actually, for our startup, so he's the co-founder. But for the application, I just list me as founder and he as advisor.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, great, good tip. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Asmita?
Yeah, so the other question I had was regarding like solo founder. So do we have to have the company already incorporated while we are applying for the fellowship? And then if you are a solo founder who still does not have other team members figured out yet, is that still okay? These were my two questions. And then also, will there be any equity agreement here?
Yeah, great questions. We don't take any equity in the Activate Fellowship, so that is a no. And then the second thing was, sorry, they were the co-founder. Sorry, can you remind me of
So
this?
if you are like a solo founder
Yeah.
who is working on the startup full time,
Yep.
but there is like a roadmap and everything, and the initial development is also ongoing, but I don't have other people working with me right now.
Yeah.
Is that fine? And then does the company have to be already incorporated? And if it has to be, or in future, if we get the fellowship, the company has to be incorporated, then it has to be incorporated within the United States.
Yep. Yeah, the answer is you do not need to be incorporated by the time of application. You have to be incorporated if you are selected. You have to be incorporated by within the first 3 months of the fellowship start of June. So
Okay.
you should be, but you don't have to at the time of application.
Okay.
And then it's okay that you are a solo founder and you don't have a team yet. That is what we're here to help you with. That is totally fine. We've seen people in that same situation apply and be successful. And then we've seen people who've come with, again, been doing it, maybe been incorporated for several years, have a couple of team members, but they really would benefit from this program to help advance that technology. So we take both those types, we take all different types of situations and scenarios, but you would still be eligible as a solo founder without any other team members.
Okay, and then when you get incorporated, it has to be a
In the
C
US.
corp, not a LLC.
Well, it could be the business model is up to you, and you can figure that out once you're talking to the managing director to help you figure
Okay.
that out.
Okay,
But you don't have to be incorporated by the time of
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, Nathan.
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to clarify co-applicant versus co-founder and those sorts of things, because I think I heard something that contradicted what I thought I heard before. So
Okay.
if you have a couple of co-founders, but they're not eligible, you just wouldn't mark them as a co-applicant, right?
Right.
They don't have to be advisor officially.
No, you can, yeah. When we say when you're doing a co-applicant, that means that person's going to be participating in all of the community aspects, all of the educational aspect. They get the same benefits except for the $100,000 living stipend from Activate. So that's the person you put in your application, someone who you might be the CEO, they might be the CTO, and you all are working on this together. And you want them to be you both are going to be part of the Activate. You're going to go through the application process as a team. But then there's people who are part of your team who are working on it full time, but they're not necessarily going to be part of the Activate Fellowship program. And you can list those folks as part of your team in the application. One of the sections just asks who else is part of your team, but they're not going through the selection process with you.
Okay.
Yeah. Benton. Oop, you're on mute again.
Okay, no. Okay, so I just heard a question in your response on the role that co-founders can play who do not receive fellowships, and well, several of them, also especially with university faculty, and that alarmed me because I have no affiliation. Now, my point is that money is a zero-sum game. You get what I mean? That is, if one person gets a fellowship, then someone else who's not eligible for that fellowship might get money that's freed up. You see what I'm saying? It's a zero-sum game. If I give you some money so that you can give someone else some money, it's a zero-sum game.
I'm not really understanding, but I guess if we want to, we could talk about it offline, maybe if you want to.
Okay, sure,
Yeah,
good.
I'm happy to. Yeah, okay,
Okay.
great. All right, we're kind of running out of time, so maybe these are the last two questions. So Jay, why don't you ask yours, and then Lan, you'll finish us out.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Rick. So, our company name is Lavana. We're developing software platform to empower chemistry and material R&D, especially semiconductor materials. So our product is the software by nature, but we're doing a pilot program with the research labs and industry lab. So there will be at the same time physical outcome. So my question is, are we suitable in this case, or we have to do physical research ourselves?
Yeah, as long as you're going to explore. So we do take some software. We don't usually take full like an app or anything like that, or any SaaS stuff. But we do take things that are going to have some sort of hardware component. If it's a software application that you're looking to develop it for hardware as well. So as long as that you're thinking about that, then you should be eligible to apply. Whether or not it fits into this pilot program is not clear, but I think there's also, you don't need to, you might just not be part of the chip sponsored, but it would be, Activate sponsored in other ways. But yeah, as long as you have some sort of hardware component to the software, then that's fine, or willing to explore that.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Lan.
Okay, I'll make it real quick. So, I've already turned in my application actually since last week, but is there something else that I need to do to become CHIPS eligible? So I'm hearing Activate Fellowship versus CHIPS for America, or is that just going to be done automatically behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, it's behind the scenes. As long as if you filled out your pre-fellowship application, did you mark that your technology was one of those technologies for the CHIPS folks?
Yes.
Then yeah, then that'll alert us that it could potentially be eligible for this pilot program, and we will do all that behind the scenes. There's only one application. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Nothing special else to do. So it sounds like you did it right. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Hi, Rick. My name's Devon. I wasn't able to raise my hand for some reason. I just have a quick question. So I am the founder of a semiconductor company that deals with thermal regulation and materials. I have 4 years. I have a bachelor's of science, but I don't have research and development experience. But I have a team member that does. He's an engineer. He has a master's in engineering.
Yep.
So would I apply? But I'm the founder of the company. He is not. He is not a co-founder, but he's part of our team. He's our research and development team. So you may have answered this question. So in regards to the application, do I apply as the co-applicant and he applies as the primary? Is that correct?
Yeah, we usually require both folks to have the basic eligibility that to meet the basic eligibility. So you would need to have the post-baccalaureate, the bachelor's degree and 4+ years of technical experience. If that person you think would be the person to apply, do they have decision-making abilities in your company? Okay. Yeah, as long as they have the decision-making abilities and can help drive the technology forward, you would likely have them. We are a little bit flexible sometimes with the co-founder, so you can always put yourself. It's easier to remove someone than it is we can add someone later. So, but we do technically try to have both applicants meet all of the eligibility requirements, but definitely the primary applicant for sure.
Okay,
And
Thank
if
you
you,
so
we can
much.
talk more about, yeah, if you want to send me a note, we can always chat more about your specific, situation.
I would love to, because we applied once and unfortunately we weren't awarded. And I didn't know if it was because of the eligibility or if it was something else, you
Yeah,
know?
well, let's look into that separately offline and just send me an email and I can work with you on that.
Wonderful. Thank you so
Right.
much.
Thank you. All right, we're over time, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Thank you so much to Larissa. I don't know if they're still here, Josh. And thank you all for your time. And if you have any follow-up questions, again, please email us at appliedactivate.org. Thanks for spending the hour with us.